welcome to the lovely IHP community and 5D Collective. I wanted to share a little bit of a comparison. Thanks to Patrick Tiahan, I can do this. So we're going to be using his content, and then I'm going to chime on in with the difference between when you do not lose your true self, okay? So welcome anybody who's new. I get to be the 5D mystic in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, self-empowered, enlightened, divine feminine with my own divine masculine, but a divine feminine when it comes to that mysticism stuff, who shares with you how we are able, some of us, to be generous, open-hearted, no shields on our heart, self-expression, our truths, because the lead of being free to be our authentic self was gifted to us with our child-centric environment. And so the spiritual and mindful living and loving is for a person when you're ready to be the true self of you, because that's when you're going to put it into practice easily. And you're also going to put into practice the forgiveness and feeling grace and generous, because you know how to be in your restorative embodiment and you're self-aware, accountable, and regulating. So in awareness, you don't have the child parts or the so adaptive child parts or the maladaptive child patterns of behaviors that come up. You have your social engagement system, so you know how to regulate your nervous system. You know that all people, also contracts, are that free will choice for you to use equanimity. So you're ready, again, to be equanimous. That means kind, compassionate, open-hearted, no ill will, but it also is your ventral vagal nervous system, so integrity. I have flaws and imperfections, but I have integrity. So it doesn't mean somebody's going to see me necessarily as kind. That's the part of where when we have people who are projecting their unkindness and they don't know of Patrick Tiahan, they don't think they've lost their true self. They think that they know what they're doing. And so we have a community here. Here you have a person who is transcending that illusion of us being one, not brothers and sisters. We all are, meaning that we're a big family, but some of us are authentic selves and we don't reclaim our power. We are the empowered version of ourselves. And so our community are those who are mindfully and spiritually living the 5D collective, so true self, and those who are recuperating their true self and are looking to be in relationships with people who are forgiving, again, grace, generous in their rest and rejuvenate, healthy self-worth, lovers and partners, conscious individuals who know how to use the inner child adult, functional adult language, integrity. Okay, so Patrick Tiahan, and then we'll come back and close it on. It might be short, but you can find him at at Patrick Tiahan official. So he shared this today. Excuse me, a little bit of throat going on. Let me grab some water while we do this. He says, my biggest regret about my childhood is that it made me unkind. And then he says also, my biggest regret about my childhood is not what happened to me, but what I lost, my true self. Thanks to my mom, I didn't lose my true self because I got to express all the emotions. And then as I got older, thanks to my catechism and my upbringing, I got to keep choosing to stay open-hearted and to continue rising with that. I'm Maria, and you can't and won't be changing me. And my heart stays open, and I don't need any boxing gloves, and I'll stay generous. And that's also why, though, as I keep sharing with you all, the essence of the divine feminine, it's not one that captures, it's one that's free to take the lead and to be all that she is, which is unconditionally loving. Because of that beautiful relationship, whether you are a mystic or not, it's once you're a restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating, mindful human being who overflows in your humanity and is aware that no one chooses their childhood trauma. And that's why Dr. Daniel Siegel is the best when he talks to me about integration of the brain, differentiation of the self, and forgiveness. And it is being the fact that the past never returns, but it's because he knows how to process emotions like I do. So it's once you are an integrated brain and a restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating person that you will feel the open-heartedness of that which is the 5D Christ consciousness vibration. And I did learn that from Jesus. Forgive, for they do not know. Blessed are those who believe without seeing, turn the other cheek, and don't cast a stone. Basics. And then when I learn about all those people who don't know about their childhood trauma, so they don't know that they don't know their true self. And that's why forgive, they do not know Maria. Today I can use that sentence and integrate with it a Patrick Tiahan who is going to share with you, so again, his biggest regret of his childhood. It made him unkind and he lost his true self. So it's only once you go and get your true self back that you will know how to, one, be your true self, but also to continue doing what he is doing as well. So let me read. Thank you, Patrick Tiahan, for your shares, and hopefully he will get to have more visitors to his page. Many childhood trauma survivors, he says, grew up like me in families that freely crossed kindness boundaries and easily cut people down. The commonality in how families behave like this, usually modeled by a parent, is disregard for how our words and behaviors impact others. In addition, he says, we project childhood perpetrators onto others in our present lives, especially those who are close to us. Patrick goes on to say, I have spent most of my life in recovery, reclaiming a sense of how I impact others and reclaiming kindness. Then he says, unfortunately, though, many childhood trauma survivors, if we are being honest, are self-consumed when triggered and are highly defended. We grew up with adults like this, he says. And then he says, my lack of kindness manifested in always being dissatisfied or disgusted with others. Both disappointment and disgust were unprocessed, buried feelings from my childhood that drove much of my energy around intimacy. He says, you will resonate with this if you have ever been preoccupied and reacted on others from any of the following. 1, looking for problems in the other to keep ourselves safe. 2, looking for ways the other will disappoint you. 3, looking for ways the other is being thoughtless or oblivious. And he's saying looking, okay? So 4, looking for ways the other isn't listening to you. All the focus is on the other and what they're doing or not doing. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looking for ways the other is potentially hiding, lying, or being cowardly. Can you apply those statements to your parents' behaviors while growing up? Question mark. Then he says, some survivors never used the unkind fight response as a strategy and never lost their kindness or had too much of it, which is for another post, he says. He says, I don't believe I was born unkind. It is not my true nature. However, I take full responsibility for how I sabotaged relationships and attacked those close to me in intimacy and otherwise. I try to live a living amends in how I am with others. He says, my regret is healthy. And so the regret that his childhood made him unkind and all that he's trying to live and keep himself in this balanced space as he continues to reclaim his kindness, his innocence, and things he didn't have, which is why, as he says, it's a journey, and if ever we want to forgive, we will, but it's not the priority. The first part is you getting your inner child reparented and you owning that inner child, which I totally understand his discourse. I'm on the other end of the spectrum, but I understand what he's speaking. And what's amazing is that he is taking the time to go and have that full responsibility, which is what you'll find with those who are authentically healing, like lovely Kylie. She's a narcissist and her boyfriend is a sociopath. They are authentically healing and they get hate mail because of ignorant human beings who don't believe that disorders, personality disorders, which hopefully at one point will be changed, a title, that they are healable, while all that is updated trauma and attachment information shows that people who are willing to heal, and for personality disorders, we have Dr. Daniel Fox. He's on YouTube as well. Look him up. And so with Patrick Tiahan, we know childhood trauma survivors can heal. Let me finish reading. So he says, I see many survivors who are unaware of what they bring to their relationships because they are stuck in defending themselves, operating in a vacuum, and unaware of how they make others feel. It is important to explore what we are like when defended and whether we cause any damage. so many of us are trying to break cycles, which involves embracing honesty and accountability. I believe a part of us knows we are being unkind and we are fighting our family legacy and values. So he says that when you're being unkind in that modality with others, that you'll be aware of it. And of course, it's as you gain practice with the community and the group and people who talk to you. My family, he says, taught me to value telling others off and having the higher ground over another person's feelings and connection with me. We have to choose what we really value. What do you think? So, see, this is where my family taught me to value talking, not telling others off, to not having an upper or below ground, no, to have a space where we're equals, and then to take and consider people's feelings and their connection. And that's the true spirituality life, meaning connection beyond the soul self, which is why you don't have to be a mystic. I'm a mystic, but you don't have to be. Mindful living, Dr. Daniel Siegel does it all the time. And once you are consistently able to bring kindness, it's because you will be aware of somebody and their feelings and their thoughts, but you'll also be aware, unlike those who are regaining their inner child to become their inner child adult. So I am aware when I got a person who's a Cusco, and I will not stand down. I will stand in my authentic voice, my healthy self-worth, and I'll be able to engage in the absence of getting in anybody's face, but in the absence of cowering down, quote unquote, and being what others would say as polite. Sometimes people will say you could be a little bit less rigid. Okay, so I have some stories. We won't get into that one right now, but this is the part of where those who use social niceties and they don't have an empowered true self, they will engage. There are times when they have engaged and informed me of their ideas. And so this was a conversation a while ago that I could be a bit more flexible with people. And I actually say, thank you so much for your feedback. It will not be taken, but I understand what you're telling me. You are a person who is a lot more flexible. Have a good time being flexible. I don't do the flexibility you're talking to me about. And that's where I just disengage because of completely knowing how healthy self-worth works from in my gut versus when a person doesn't have yet a gut that knows how to stand in their own heart body and value body. But it's more than just that. It's for a longer conversation, which we won't get to right now. But basically, people who have made a hell out of themselves want to go to heaven. Thank you, Sadhguru. People who have made heaven out of themselves, wherever the hell they go, they are fine. So I love this quote because those who have this, what I'm going to say is it's not an incapacity, but they're not yet their inner child adult. So whenever they will have shared with me their thoughts of me being able to potentially get more flexible because of my composure, I know what it is because I was a teen when I got told. I know who I am. I'm not going to stand down. I also know who I want to befriend. I didn't realize that friendship meant that I have to pick everyone to become my friend. And this is the equation of where it's called consistency, but it's also called, I can explain however many different ways I want, all of it. We'll do it step by step. Healthy self-worth people, self-empowered. We do not disregard any of those who are going to let us know how they feel, but we will have made and we continue to make our own choices of who we are going to befriend. That's always. I've as a teen, I again use my teenage years because I didn't learn anything new from my twin flames, my soulmates, my oversoul. I consistently, once I got out of that adolescent, I saw what I saw, and I saw who is a person and who is a person. So what I'm going to equate is if you treat me in any way, shape, or form with disregard of my thoughts and my emotional depth and what I am trying to talk to you about, and you treat me with a specific tone, I'll know you're not a functional adult / inner child adult. You don't know how to self-regulate in your ventral vagal state. you don't know how to be a grown up, how I'm going to bring it to you right now. And so that's where I will know that you don't have healthy boundaries because you're not engaging with me in the present of your mindfulness brain. You're not curious, open, accepting, and loving. And soon as I get a bit of an attitude, I got a person who's dysregulated. And what happens for me when someone will bring up, don't you think I'll pay attention, I'll hear, I'll watch. Okay, yeah, you know what, you're right. I'm making a big deal out of this. And I get back into myself. And so this is another example. Thank you for stopping by, though. I digress. I wanted to share this little tidbit because when you have your true self always on board, it's why you don't feel changed, you feel expanded. I'm more of Maria than I've ever been, and I'm an equanimous, mature, loving for me. Others might not think so, but when I say loving, I mean that blissfulness comes out through every single one of my pores. When I'm with people who are loving and happy and they get to have fun, we get to have fun together. And I'm usually able to be around a lot of different people, but I will choose who I want to be around. And I don't make exceptions. And that is because of I get to choose who my social circle is. I didn't realize, again, people thought that we had to socialize with all. And so, once again, a true self doesn't allow those who say, but you could be nicer to someone to say, oh, I'm not sure. I would put it in the nice thing. I would put it like people say, picky. Sure, okay. I don't find myself picky, but I am selective. And once you get to an awareness of yourself that, again, is empowering, it's not snooty. It's called equanimity. It's called healthy self-worth. It's called you also being able to be humble. And you also know if a person's upset at me because of that, like it has happened, you all know the story, I won't tell it all. I will take that opportunity to continue to be decent as a human being and respectful, but I will also continue with the chosen path because I don't need to befriend every person. You see? So, social and formalities and niceties is about me being able to interact with you by respecting you and space, but I'm going to respect my space and your space, and I can do it softly. Now, if you bring me to having to put my foot down, quote unquote, means I'm going to tell you, no, this is not okay. Now, if you get in any way, shape, or form, I have friends. I'm 4'9". I'd go call my friends, hey, this person's presenting a problem for me. And really, if they say, well, you should call the cops, I'll go call the cops. See what I'm saying? But it's in a series of events. But again, I give you an example that covers so many different areas. We'll be back with more. In the meantime, a person who empowers their life through their true self doesn't look to the past with regret. I chose every step of the way to be kind, knowing that you can't prove kindness. You cannot prove intent. And I have been accused of things that are not true, meaning that I have been accused of people saying you want to hurt my feelings on purpose. No, I don't. But I know I can't prove it. Okay, so again, adolescents, they get a lot of, right? So you being able to stand up for the truth that you know is true is basically, I know the truth. I'm not a liar, but you're going to call me one. Not going to feel ashamed of it. I didn't lie. You're not believing me. You're the one who's calling. So when you do something that is not conforming to societal norms, so please do remember, I'm a polyamory, a very free loving person. So under that equation, I also have people who have completely like, you're awful or whatever, like they will use words. And so once again, I do not feel ashamed of my choice of how to love the lifestyle. And this is when you know a person who has secure attachment, they are their true self. They're not going to be disrespectful. They're not going to take offense either. They're going to understand when you are around a mentally, emotionally, and physically non-mature person, you're going to get a person who doesn't know how to speak to others. You will also get a closed-minded person who, for me, they're the scarlet letter times, will interact with you and then be in a complete situation, and you will not feel that you need to cower down. You will feel understanding. Mindfully aware, I live in a circumstance, in a world where there are different societal opinions, and I will be able to talk about it. When you have mental, emotion, physically intelligent human beings, that's when you're going to find people who can talk the way I just talked to you about. When you have people who still could use Patrick Teahan and continue on their journey, until they get ready to be their true self, like an inner child adult, then when they come back around, they'll understand the discourse I just made. Until that moment, we have people who are inclined to feel quote unquote bad when they meet a person who doesn't have healthy boundaries. I don't feel bad. That's disrespectful. If somebody doesn't know healthy boundaries, I won't be doing anything except for making sure that I maintain my healthy boundaries, because now I know that I have a person who doesn't know how to be their grown up version. They don't wield their thoughts or emotions. I got a lack of mindfulness person. So, again, I can keep on doing this. Welcome aboard, anybody who will be back. Thank you for stopping by. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you know people who enjoy spiritual and mindful living and loving, and a 5D mystic woo-woo lady here, we might be back later with the late HP show, but if not, we'll be back soon. Have a good one.